Well, hello everyone, and happy pre-Valentine's Day. Welcome to Virtual Collage Jam for Monday, February 10th, and our theme is Hearts Are Wild. I've got my patented asymmetrical lipstick on, so I'm ready to roll. And I'm trying to be dressed somewhat appropriately in some red. So, I have no idea what I'm going to collage, but I have my neutrals drawer and my red drawer ready to go. And I'm just going to see how it goes. How is everyone? I see there are a few people already here and commenting. Hello, Nellie. You're beta ready to roll. That's awesome. And Irina, same to you. Welcome aboard. That's like you guys are both in other parts of the world, so you're eager, ready to roll. That's great. Hello, Lisa. Great to have you along too. Happy pre-Valentine's Day. Hey, Val. Nice to have you along. Awesome. Some of my, well, you're all my favorites, but like people who've been with me for a while, regulars. It's a happy little place to be. I'm just back from a few days downtown with Kim, looking after her or helping her mom, who's not very mobile. So fortunately, she lives with a younger man, a platonic thing, but he looks after her really well, which is good because Kim and her mom don't get along perfectly. So he does so very much, but he took a well-deserved vacation down to Mexico, which is cool. And so we were stepping in and staying with her and helping her with stuff. And so last night we drove back from Toronto, which is about an hour from here, not that far. After he got back from his late flight, we heard a little bit about his trip, and then we drove home, and it's like, oh, there's a lot more snow in here in Brampton than there was. So before I could actually put the car on the driveway at 1:30 in the morning, I had to shovel our driveway out. So yeah, so I'm a little knackered, and so I don't really have a plan, but I don't feel I need a plan to a heart, right? That's awesome. Valentine's Day, it comes with its own color scheme. So yeah, I don't think it should be that difficult. Hey, Kathleen, how are you? Great to have you along. And Anne Wakeoff, nice to have you along too. That's awesome. Hello, Philippa. Yeah, late night workout. Yeah, I did and I had done an earlier workout because Kim's mom lives in a condo with a really swish gym. It's not really swish, but it has space. Like my gym is like my home gym here. With I have everything I need, but it's in this tiny amount of space, and I have to like make sure I don't bang into things because space is at a premium in our place because, right? So it was great. We had like a room to move. It was awesome. So yeah, then I had a little extra unanticipated shovel workout. Thank you, Philippa. It's funny actually. I was just mentioning this to Kim before I went live. I have a lot of tops and I have a lot of clothing that I got rid of some of my guy clothing, but a bunch of it's like, well, this is still fine, right? And this is one of them. But one thing I've noticed, one thing that's happened as a result of the transition is my skin has gotten softer. And so I remember this has a nice little nap inside of it. And I remember, oh, this was so cozy. And now it's like, oh my God, this is a bit like sandpapery now. But it's still, it's red, it's good, and it still has life in it, and it's not particularly, there's no reason I can't keep wearing it. So yeah, thank you, Philippa. I'm glad you like it. I like it too. I'm a fan of red. If it's a little, this one's actually a little, it's not showing on the camera. It's actually looking a little on the orange side. It is a little on the blue side. Orange side of red is better for me, But oh, and red mug, of course, trying to keep the theme. Oh, hello, Annie. How are you? Great to have you along. Sorry, I'm just catching up with the comments. Anne says, you absolutely don't need a plan. Exactly. I'm glad that my not having a plan is still inspiring, and that's great. Irina, I'm so glad to hear this. Irina says, I am freshly in love. So the prompt and timing is totally perfect. Freshly in love is such a beautiful place to be. I am so happy for you. And yeah, it's been a very long time. I'm very happily in love still, as you guys know, but that first blush is just so magical. Like the whole world transforms into a beautiful place. Like your eyes, your your whole outlook on life is suddenly right. Yeah, that's great. That's so great. Yeah, you're very welcome, and I'm so happy for you. Yeah. So, Irina, are you going to make your sweetie something today? Maybe make a Valentine's for him? I shouldn't assume him for your Valentine. That would be cool. I think that's well, I'm going to just do something hearts oriented, and it might morph into a visual for Kim. So yeah, of course, she says yes, exactly. So I will. I'm going to switch to my overhead camera. We know what Irene is doing, so if any of you guys have a plan, no plan is necessary, as you can tell. I'm going without one. But if you're arriving here with a plan or an idea, let us know. Or what your other than the prompt, like if you're going to use the prompt, what are your first thoughts? You'll hear my first thoughts in a minute as soon as I think them. So I'm going to switch to the overhead camera and get this party started. We're going black for just a minute while I get the camera set up. Just bear with me. So Kim has bought us some, I don't know whether it's purchase or a free software, but she's got us some software that allows us to switch between cameras and stuff, a proper live streaming software, but I haven't learned it yet. So I'm still doing I can only have one camera, so bear with me for now, but hopefully in the not too distant future, I'll have wrapped my head around that software, and we'll actually have semi-professional live streaming. But for now, this will do the job. Hey, Rebecca, welcome aboard. Awesome. Kirk and you are both here. That's great. Double the fun. That is so good. Are you guys going to be doing something Valentine's Day themed, or are you going to just collage along? Let us know, or do something else too, right? So I am just going to, I think where I'm going to start is I'm going to rifle through as you guys know, I have my stuff arranged by color. So I'm going to rifle through my red/pink drawer and my neutrals drawer, which has like black, grays, and whites, and just grab a few things to play with and see where we start. So Val says she's working on Februalage collages. Awesome. Are you up to date, Val, or are you trying to catch up? And let us know in the comments. And Philippa says she's just hanging out. That's awesome, with a very cool little Valentine's emoji. Well done, Philippa. That's lovely. Rebecca says, Kirk is cross-stitching. Awesome. And she's just watching and waiting for inspiration. Okay, well, no pressure. And no, don't worry, I don't take it that way, but you'll get inspired. Don't worry. All right, I'm gonna grab a few. Look at that. That's from like Angel from a while ago. That might find its way in. These are from collage and drawing course that I taught a while ago. Where we just, in that class, we made some textures by just drawing, and then we collaged with them. So I might dip into these because there's something a little wild about those, which suits the prompt. So I'm just going to array those around me in my huge amounts of space that I don't have here, and then see what comes. I've definitely got quite a few sort of red, pink, and so on flat colors, which I like in the mix. But I also want to have some sort of textural or interesting, like photographic reds. So I'm going to see what I have in my drawer as well. That's just like a brayer sheet, but that might find its way in. So this was from a gel plate course where we were creating a hierarchy of what do you look at first, second, third. But I'm thinking some of this stuff around here looks very Valentine's appropriate, as does that. That's another gel plate print thing. So I love, this is like a treasure drawer, which I really enjoy, that like rifling through for materials. And most of the time I forget what's in here. So, and it's not that I don't use it frequently. I do use it frequently, but because I now have a particular thing that I'm looking for, I see what I have in here differently. Like this, for instance, was a COVID graphic from, I don't know, like one of the things that we did during an earlier collage jam, but it also feels sort of, there's some reds in there that are appropriate. So yeah, I've got a few things in here that are very appropriate. So I don't think I'm going to have any shortage of things. It'll just be a case of what catches my eye. All right, I think I've given myself probably too many options, but let's maybe start with that. There's some pattern that I don't have, so all right. So I'm thinking what I will do is just launch in and see what happens with, and I might famous last words. I always say this, but I might try and do 2 or 3 starts and then see what happens as the ideas start to roll. Kirk, what are you cross stitching? What is is it abstract? Is there a motif? Is it something surprising? Something I love about some of the contemporary cross stitches. You see an image or a message that is very much not what you would expect in cross stitch. So I'd be curious what you're doing. And any sort of needle work is great work for listening to something or watching something, isn't it? More listening, I guess, right? But I remember when I was young, back in the early Paleolithic era, listening to hockey games and doing embroidery. And just that sentence gives you an idea that I was atypical. I'll catch up with comments in a minute. All right, I'll see what you guys are saying. Rebecca says on Kirk's behalf, he's actually creating the pattern for a virtual background for work meetings. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. And Val says she's way ahead for February. Val, that's so impressive. If it were me, that I could say that exact sentence, except replace ahead with behind. I'd be on like day 2 right now. So all I'm doing right now is I thought I'd create some grounds, like for small collages. So these could be cut apart, or they might end up as a diptych if they look interesting together. And I'll probably do at least one more sheet and then just work between them. So in one of the collage jams we did recently, I can't remember which one it was exactly, but I was asking you guys about what you normally use to start. And so just further to that, I'm just going to get a slightly a different start on each one. So this one's like just flat color. This one's this drawn loopy scribble texture. Maybe I'll start one with a photographic ground of some kind. Actually, maybe one of these would. This is interesting because this is paint, and I know the glue stick doesn't stick as well to that, so I might put that one aside for that reason. This is paint too, but it might do better. All right, I'm going to do this part of this one. Or do I want to use all of it? Difficult question. All right, I think this one I'm going to use all of, so it's going to be a bigger one. All right, this is a slightly larger sheet, so I can do sort of two mid-size ones on this. So, and I'm pretty sure I won't. Pretty sure they won't all get done, but it lets me start going without overthinking. All right, she seems like a likely candidate, doesn't she? So I just need something else, maybe like hot pink. That's a little surprising. This is fun. So for a Christmas gift for Kim, I cut out this wreath. It's a stock photograph, right? A wreath, and I cut it out of a few different colors, and I didn't end up using them all. But the negative is really interesting, isn't it? So I'm thinking the negative is going to find its way into this. So I need I need something behind it. So maybe dark red, sort of a yeah, burgundy-ish. I'm not sure why, but it's not striking me as quite what I was hoping. So this is interesting, right? As soon as I grabbed, like the other backgrounds that I've done, I've just sort of laid down one or two pieces and like, okay, that's it. Now this one, because I thought I'd start with a recognizable image, and it's got this interesting, probably from what was cut out on the other side, I'm now trying to figure out something. I'm working with more than one piece and thinking compositionally as a starting point. So even that's different, right? Those were grounds. This is a little bit more, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's fun. So that's all I need to know. So I find this fascinating because I've done like 2 or 3 backgrounds, and now I'm thinking I'm combining elements, and that feels to me like it's suddenly something in my brain has shifted, and I'm thinking in a different way now. So who knows where that's going, but so far so good. It's fun. Fun is good. It's a good indicator that I'm sort of where I need to be, even if it's what, I don't know. Not sure that part of the sentence works. All right, what are you guys up to here? Nellie says, I love it when you go wild with the human body. Yeah, it dates back to something Kim said to me quite a while ago when I was doing in my early days of collage or mixed media stuff, and she said you have to mess with the images more. so that it's more about what you're doing rather than about the original images. So my first instinct was I had this washroom woman silhouette left over from some work I was doing earlier, and the head has gone missing. And so I thought, okay, well, great, I'll use a photographic head, right? But I thought it needs to be something surprising. So that's what led this on its way. And I don't know whether I'll still use her entire face or not, but that's a decision I'll make. Not yet. But one thing I do think that I want to do, so I pasted these pieces of the bodice or whatever you want to call it, and the skirt and the legs more or less in the right place. But what I'm going to do is flip this over now and cut it out so it conforms. It will conform to the washroom icon shape. And I think, well, I don't know. I'm hoping that will be interesting. And if it isn't, I'm not really out a lot of, nothing ventured, nothing gained, no big deal. So this is a trick I will do sometimes if I want one image cut in the shape of another piece of paper. I'll just glue it on in the right position on the front and let it hang over. And then I will flip it over and use the edges of the piece I've glued it onto as a guide for cutting it. Because if I was trying, it's quick and easy and accurate. If I tried, oh my God, if I tried to cut that piece to match this piece and then glue it on top, it would never work. So all right, so who knows what's going to happen with this, but that's kind of an interesting start anyway. All right, let's see what it looks like on. It's I'm not sure what this piece could go on top of. That like if it goes on top of something darker, dark red, you start to lose some of the edges, but maybe not enough to worry about. It definitely works on white, so maybe it'll stay on white or mostly on white. I don't know. All right, I just had a separate thought on that. Not that side, obviously. It's not the reds that I want. Neither is that particularly. All right, where's the other half of that piece? That piece, I wonder. Oh, and what am I thinking? Trying to find something that I was using a couple of minutes ago on this desk. Is that likely? I don't know. But I'll look for a minute or two and see. Just see if the collage gods, there it is, but is it actually what I'm hoping it is going to be? Let's see. Maybe. All right, what I was thinking is, let's try it down here again. All right, that will hopefully work. I need to glue it above that line. So, so we know what our theme is today. Are you guys planning anything fun for Valentine's Day? That reminds me, so let us know in the comments what your plan is. And meanwhile, I'll tell you that Kim, oh man. Kim is planning another live stream, and we're hoping to do it together on Valentine's Day this Friday. And the reason I say we're hoping rather than we know we're going to is on Friday, we're getting delivery of a new dryer. Thank goodness, because we've had a dryer that hasn't heated for, well, I hate to say it, but several months. So every time we dry our clothes, it takes forever. So we're getting delivery, and the night before they'll tell us when that's going to be, like the delivery window. So the hope is that Kim will do a Valentine's Day live stream, and I will join. I will join at least a little bit, but hopefully for the whole thing, if the delivery is in the morning or in the evening and not during the jam or during her live stream, and that will be on her YouTube channel, I'm thinking. So, but I will be there. So hopefully we'll see you on Friday. But what are you guys planning? Have you got romantic plans or fun plans or romantic fun plans or whatever, or no plans? Let us know. Just not this past weekend, but the weekend prior to that was our anniversary. And so Kim and I have been married for 25 years, and we got married on the day that we realized we were in love. So that was 10 years before that. So we've actually been together for 35 years. It's pretty scary that we can actually say that number. So it's pretty funny, but what we did was is we decided we were going to go to Square One, have a nice lunch, and shop at a store that Kim is very interested in Asian things because of her heritage, and she's particularly interested. She's half Chinese, but she's really interested in both Japanese and particularly Korean. So we went to a place called Sukoshi Mart, which sells all kinds of interesting. They sell like makeup and skincare stuff, but also just some like fun things like Korean and Japanese toys, and like little unique snacks like ramen and like Asian chocolate. And it's really interesting for artists and designers to see different cultures packaging, and the way everything has a very different aesthetic. So we spent like an hour or so in the store looking and buying a few things, but looking at all these really interesting package designs and just soaking up something that is very, very not Western. And that was really interesting. Comment wise, Nellie says, good advice. Yeah, from Kim about the human body. Absolutely. Yeah. Lisa says, yay, I'm happy to hear that. Nellie says, 35 years. Lovely. Congratulations. Thank you. Nellie also says, a washroom symbol. Once I was in Dubai and both men and women wear long dresses and headdresses. Yeah, right. And my friend and I were at a loss which one was the ladies' room, and we laughed our heads off. It's true, right? Like, so that's the case in Dubai, right? And now, like women may wear skirts, but a lot of women just like 90% of the time wear trousers, right? So so it's a little bit outdated as a concept, but I don't know what you would do, and that's actually an interesting that would be an interesting graphic designer, like maybe a school project, is to come up with new iconography for gendered spaces like that. And of course, my hope is that they would be inclusive, but I didn't see that it had this interesting cutout out of it until now. Oh well, that's just adds something to it that I wasn't anticipating. Now, oh, it's glued down. Oh well, all right. I'm wondering about something that's that's color adjacent, like a purple maybe might be better. Same color as I had, so Let's see what other purples I have. Something with a bit of pattern might be a good thing. I am just doing little ludicrous things, and I'm having fun doing it. So. And I'm trying to sort of, I'm finding myself slowing down as I'm thinking, and now I'm thinking I better speed up because I'm overthinking. So I'm just going to madly dash into a rash decision and hope for the best. So the washroom sign, I was like a couple of years ago before I'd come out, I had been playing with the idea, and it was sort of half therapy, half art, right? And lots of people say, art is therapy, right? And I tend to agree with that. It's good therapy no matter what. But I was playing with the idea of like these icons, like the man and woman icons that we use for washrooms and so on, as these sort of cookie cutter things. And so one of the ideas that I made was like the male washroom sign silhouette icon, but with bars through it, and then an image of a woman underneath showing through the gaps. But I was just interested in playing with the idea that this is like sort of cookie cutter stereotypical, and that the fact that so much of who we are, whoever we are, is not that, right? But it's this like real overly simplistic distillation. And it's interesting to me as a graphic designer because icons need to be very pared back and simple and very unequivocal, right? So I understand that too. So that was an interesting little vein to explore. But I didn't show any of that stuff, obviously, at that time, but maybe I'll dig some of it out and share it now. So this piece here was one of the pieces that I did from last Jam's technology, and I had messed with the code a little bit and created this sort of glitchy piece that I didn't end up using. and I just grabbed it, and it seems interesting, so I'm going to go with that. I don't even know what this sort of line is about other than it picks up on these diagonals, and so I don't know whether that actually needs to be, has any meaning or not. Probably not, but so for somehow this piece has headed off in a different direction. I'll bring maybe yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'll stop after the next step or two, and then I will maybe see if there's a way to reintroduce the hearts idea. In fact, maybe that's sort of, maybe there's some way in which this can be incorporated. So it's kind of like jazz, right? I've sort of gone off. I've started out with an idea, but then I've headed off in these sort of sidewindy directions, and then I'll say, "Oh, right, the theme," and then I'll come back to it, see whether that that can work. I'm just wondering what the best way to glue this down is. I think maybe, I need some tape. Oh my God, my tape was in my drawer where I was expecting it to be. That's so strange. That doesn't happen often. Usually it's under my piles of junk. Sometimes the magic works. All right. I want to glue this in here. I thought it would be kind of fun to have the, instead of having the graph paper be, I don't know. What do you think? The graph paper could be vertical, which accentuates the diagonal, or it could be on the same angle as the diagonal. Well, it says the same angle as the top part. I think I'm going to go with square because that accentuates its diagonality, if that's a word. I'm sure it isn't. But it's diagonal nature. How about that? that at least works. All right. All right, I'll check comments after I've got this piece glued down, see whether any of you guys have shared your plans for for Valentine's Day. I mean, for us, having a new dryer will be pretty sweet, but beyond that, I think, so Kim is using a new to her and relatively new technology where she's got a blood glucose monitor that she wears because to help her reduce her carbohydrates. So the idea is to prevent glucose spikes, and so she really doesn't eat any carbohydrates to speak of, or very few, either simple or complex. So I think if I wanted a challenge, I would try to come up with something Valentine's Day appropriate for her that would be a treat, but would also still be like protein / vegetable. And I was just thinking, beet slices cut in the shape of, now beets are carbohydrate and they're sweet. So, but maybe just a few would be all right. Beets like cooked and sliced and then cut in the shape of hearts. So I'll have to, that will be an interesting challenge for me, but to come up with some sort of interesting thing to eat that will be within her bounds. And she would probably say she could go off, have a little bit of a treat beyond that, and that's good. We'll probably do that a little bit, but not like crazy off the rails either, because it kind of puts her back. So yeah, so that'll be an interesting challenge, I think. Sometimes I lose my train of thought here. And the reason I say that is I lined it up into this corner of this piece of paper, but I forgot that I was thinking about putting something up here. So I may need to extend it with another piece of paper. It's pretty funny. Anyway, that's what happens when you walk and chew gum like I'm doing. All right, let's see what you guys are commenting. Nellie says, design was quite abstract and stylized, and believe me, I wouldn't want to be daughter in a conservative man's place. Yeah, for sure. Rebecca says, congrats on 35 years. Thank you, Rebecca. Kirk and I are almost 10 years behind you. Right, so you're at about 25 now? Reached 25 years together in a couple of weeks. Congratulations. That's almost exactly, like, not far off, right? Same year anyway. Yeah, Nellie says, women inclusive. I understand. Yeah. Hey, Diane. I think this is your first comment. Hi ho, how are you? Hi all. She says, all just returned to my art room. Remembered you were live today. So pleased. Awesome. Yay. And Diane says, hi to Lisa. I don't know if you saw that, Lisa. Yes, you did. Obviously, I see. Anne says, I love the jazz comparison. Yeah, I actually, that is in part coming from the fact that I am also teaching on Thursdays a course called the Collage Response Music, and so we're looking at how we can listen to music and see how we might interpret it visually. And so so we just did jazz last week, so I guess it was top of mind. So Annie says, no plans for Valentine's Day ever. We just celebrated their 35th anniversary a couple of weeks ago. Wow. We've got like the 35 club going on. And he says besides, I've been buying hubby a Valentine's Day card for our anniversary. Double duty. Right. My parents' anniversary was on Valentine's Day. And I thought I think they realized, oh, well, we could, we want to get married at this point. We could let's just like get it to align, right? Which I thought was clever. Rebecca says, what about a chocolate mousse made with silken tofu or aquafaba? I've never heard of aquafaba. Silken tofu is awesome. Yep. I will look up aquafaba. I better jot that down if I can find a pencil on my desk. Love finding out about new, interesting ingredients. You can use a low-cal sweetener or make it dark. Yeah, we both love dark. So very little sugar added. Aquafaba. I'm torn between asking you what it is and looking it up myself. So you decide, Rebecca. Valerie says, we don't usually do anything for Valentine's Day, although a good excuse to eat chocolate. Exactly. Life's too short not to eat chocolate. Nellie says, 52nd anniversary on the 25th. Wow. So February seems to be a big month for anniversaries. That's so cool. Okay, yes, Val. Val says aquafaba is the liquid form of chickpeas. I have heard of that. I just didn't know the name of it. So, water from a can of, water from the can of chickpeas, right? Whips up like egg white. Yes, that's awesome. That's kind of a vegan hack. I know I've heard about it. So maybe this is a great time to investigate and try working with it. So. Yeah, surprisingly, Kim's found that even eating legumes like chickpeas, I'm not saying I'm not going to use it on Valentine's Day, but even that will spike her glucose. Spike is probably the wrong word, but raise it above where she's trying to keep it. And that was really surprising because of all the fiber it's got. It's got fiber and protein, two things you'd think that would be really like keep the carbohydrate aspect balanced, right? I mean, that's why we love legumes, right? Because they have this balance of things, right? But still. All right, so I've got my crazy girl without her head. And now I'm going to see so I'm wondering whether I should go back to one of my previous pieces or keep with this one. I'm just taking my hinge pieces of tape off and they're damaging the paper a little bit, but I'm just going to call that part of the process. So I'm just trying to think what for me is interesting. I think I might keep with this one for a bit longer. All right, let's see if I can find my head that I was originally thinking. There it is, and see whether I want to incorporate it here. I might, All right, but I need to be able to extend this a little bit, so I'm gonna cut it off and glue another piece on. It's kind of like haphazard collaging, like, oh, I'm running out of paper, glue another piece on. Why didn't I just put it lower down? And now I just got a notch out of the second piece because I forgot I had two pieces of paper there. That's pretty funny. Oh, well. right. I'm just excuse me. I'm just looking at what I might use to extend this piece up a little bit. Whether I want to use a solid color or just a more photographic thing. All right, I remember seeing something else that I want to see if I can locate again, which I might not be able to. Ooh, that's kind of fun. So many different ideas. All right. Sorry, guys, I've gone quiet while I've been puzzling. And I'm not sure I'm done puzzling, but I will try to at least give the Collage Jam a little bit of a soundtrack. Sorry. I'm just off on a tangent now. So well, that one could work. Either of those might work. I'll try a couple more. Same model because it's both Chanel, but a little bigger, so that might be good. Yeah, there's something this lines up really nicely, I think. So, okay, I'm going to go with her. Oh, I'm getting so far away from Valentine's Day now. Better rein it back. Either that or this is just an adjacent piece, and I'll do something more Valentine's Day on one of the other grounds, which might be the case. Oh, sometimes I drive myself crazy in a very interesting way. But I think it's a good thing. But what I was thinking was, okay, I'm thinking I'm going to use this combination of this person with some kind of a device held up to his face. And I love that it's his face in his hands, but a woman's head continuation. And it's above this thing that says screenshot up here, which was just an accident. So that's what I was thinking. I was making that piece, but then I was just looking at this image with then this interjection and just thinking, even that's interesting, right? So then I provide myself with like, oh, is this interesting enough that I should then make this a different piece and do something else for that? I think not in this case. Excuse me. I think not in this case, but that's what happens, right? Sometimes you see something along the way and you have to decide, oh, okay, like which is the baby and which is the bathwater, right? And which one do you want to keep and which one do you want to not worry about? And sometimes it's like, always be open to the fact that like, maybe this was just what you needed to be working on to arrive at that. And so in this case, I don't think it is, but you should always take a look at it and think, oh, okay, is it or is it not, right? So it is the artist's prerogative always to make the work they need and want to make. And the reason I say that is, so something back in the old days before teaching online most of the time, and I still teach in person, but I would wander around, especially with a collage class, and I would see someone working on something really, and I go, oh, wow, that's so interesting. And I'll point it out to them and they go, yeah, but it's not what I want to do. And it's like, all right, that's my vision, not yours. You need to do what you need to do. But it's always interesting to see what I see and what they see, right? And I'm not making their work, so they have to make the decision that suits their work, right? And so, yeah, so some of you may be thinking, oh, yeah, do this, right? And I'm going to do this. So hopefully it's not upsetting anyone too badly. But if it is, tough, right? All right, what did I do with my tape? I need tape again because I have to do a hinge again. I just have to figure out what arrangement I want here. Oops, there's an errant piece stuck. I don't want this showing up, so I want to be just above that cut and align the little screenshot thing with his neck. So there we go. So now I have to get under here so that the pieces stay in the right position while I glue them. And all I was doing there was sticking some pieces of tape so that these guys were hinged so that it's positioned in the right place. It'll stay that way, but I can open it like this to glue this part to the back of this. So that's what I was busy trying to get those pieces of tape under there to hold it in the right position for when I glued it. And in the case of this one, I think I might glue this sheet because it's much heavier and then just fold this down on it. So it's got to be over to about here. I'll start with by gluing that. So another thing that I'm doing with this piece, which I definitely don't do all the time, is I'm just sort of not worrying about the confines of the piece, like where its edges are, because I might, let me get it glued down and then I'll talk a little bit more about that. All right, that's glued down now. So, like, look at this crazy perimeter, right? I got extra space down here. This edge is a bit of an angle. And the reason it's what's happening in the image that I'm most interested in, whether it's working or not, that's where I'm focused. So what might happen is I might decide to cut it down, like, oh, I don't need all this stuff. I might cut it here, or I might not, right? So I will make those decisions later about what the actual edges of the piece are going to be. Right now, I'm sort of playing with what's in the center. What is driving my work. So that's interesting because often I will sort of establish the perimeter and then work within it in relationship to those edges, right? Like, for instance, whatever I do on this piece, it has a really interesting perimeter. So that I'm going to use as a given, and I will put pieces on top, and maybe they will break out beyond that. But this is pretty established, right? It's true that I might crop it a little bit on the white, depending on what I glue on here. But this here the perimeter is really important for this. And I think it's already interesting. That's one thing I really like about that and the division of color. And that's all it is right now until I do more. But this one, the perimeter is sort of accidental, which parts of it I might harness, parts of it I might glop off eventually, right? Depending. So isn't that interesting, the way you can approach so many things so different, or collage so differently? So, you know what? I'm actually looking over at my monitor, which is great because this is a bit too big for my eyes to drink in. But when I look over there at my screen, I can actually see it a little better. And I'm just, that oversized head is a little bit crazy, isn't it? Especially that it's sort of stacked a couple of different head images. So I'm not even sure what that is. So I'm thinking at this point, I'm going to put this one aside because this is one of those pieces where I've done a bunch of things that I think are somewhat interesting. I'm not sure, excuse me, I'm not sure it's actually working as a whole yet. And I'm not sure what to do now. I had a bunch of ideas, I've done them, and now I think I need to put it aside and come back to it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And maybe one of these will actually get some hearts on it. So I think I've got these two grounds, and I'm going to pick a few different pieces of paper to cut hearts out of in a few different sizes, and then I'll arrange them on one or both of these. And that way, I will have fulfilled my obligation to do something heart related, right? And I know that that's I'm just being tongue in cheek about that. So what I'm going to do is tape together a few layers of things that might be interesting to cut hearts, and I'll cut hearts through them. And so and I know that that idea of like cutting a shape through too many layers can be a recipe for difficulty. So I'm going to, oh no, my tape is running out. I'm going to only tape together a few sheets, so that's 3 of that. So I've got a plain purple, a patterned red, and a sort of photographic with type. And now I'll pick something else. Maybe a hot pink is one of them. This has other pieces cut out of it, so I'm just going to tear that off. And I'll use this. And what else? This one might be interesting, and I think more towards this edge. So, right. And one other thing. I don't think I actually have any pure red yet, like just straight red. So I don't need to use the full sheet. I'll do part sheet. And now all I'm going to do is cut some hearts freehand, different sizes out of those 2 stacks, and then play with them. So I'm just going to see what you guys are up to saying here. So Diane says, "Thank you for that info. I wonder if you can whip it up for baking cake, the aquafaba." Oh, sorry, I have to go back further. Diane says, "Going up to North to babysit on Valentine's Day, so I will have my bestie and grand girl." Oh, that's awesome. And she says, "Thank you for that info. I wonder if you can whip it up for baking cake." Quite possibly. Google it and find out. Irina says, "So far I worked on another collage with the theme of Land of Giants. I now started on the Valentine's collage, which turns out I use different media. I'm using paper and string and a golden chain." That sounds lovely. She says, "Because I want to use a poem that says that our whole life is like a chain of love stories, and whether there is red thread going through it or not, I presume, right?" Yeah. Rebecca says, "Diane, you can use it in cakes, though I've mostly used it as a replacement for meringue type things." And Annie says, "Congrats, Nellie." And Annie says, "Wow, Irina, love stories chain sounds great." Yeah, absolutely. All right. I'm just going to move a couple of sheets aside. And you guys are saying, why worry about it? There's so much, right? I'm going to pitch a couple of pieces I don't need, and then I'm going to get into cutting hearts. I see we're getting close to time, but I'm going to at least cut out some hearts before we run out. So as usual, I'll probably go a few minutes late. So if you have to run, I understand. I hope you have a good Valentine's Day. And if you want to stay, feel free. And to save Rebecca the trouble, I will this time remember to say, if you don't mind hitting the like button on our streams, so that it helps other people find our YouTube streams and hopefully join our little collage family here. And I was just thinking, I just cut those hearts out and they're really kind of rough and jaggy. And I thought, oh no. And then I thought, oh yes, right? Because love is rarely, especially longer term love, it's rarely always smooth, right? So I think actually it's just right. If they're a little bit ragged, a little bit human. So and because I'm cutting them freehand, they're going to be a little bit different each time. Some are going to be skinny, some are going to be lopsided. And again, that is going to be perfect, I think. Yep, my knife slipped, but there you go. Still feels heart-like. If I wanted it to be like, have more graphic perfection, I would print out hearts that I had either drawn using a drawing program or found online that were the shapes I wanted, and use that as my top layer. And then I'd cut very, very carefully. They'd still have a human aspect, but they would be more precise. But in this case, especially since the prompt is hearts are wild, I'm thinking rougher the better. And in fact, that makes me think, well, maybe I should intentionally be even rougher. So, which I probably will. I could, I'm not sure I could tear, well, probably bigger hearts, not this small. It'd be hard to tear them properly, but a bigger one I could definitely tear. We have a few friends. I don't know if you guys look for naturally occurring hearts when you're looking on a beach or whatever. But we have a few friends who collect heart-shaped, pieces of wood, or like driftwood or rock, anything they find in nature that is sort of heart-shaped. Does anyone here do that? Or beach glass, like because we're here in Toronto, we're on Lake Ontario. I mean, I'm quite a bit north of the lake, but lots of people visit the lake and will beachcomb for interesting things. So sometimes you find pieces of like really weathered glass, which are lovely. All right. I should have a little more size variation probably. It's funny, when I was growing up and learning both art and graphic design skills, I was I tried so hard to make things really perfect. So if I was making hearts, they were supposed to be symmetrical. So sometimes I would fold them, right? And they were supposed to be really pure and beautiful. And now I'm cutting them out intentionally not. And I think that's so interesting how we change through life. It's still the same chain, but the links are looking a little different as they age. They're not as shiny and new, but they're arguably more interesting. Just like our young faces have given way to our older faces that don't have that pristine aspect of youth, but they have more life and love and character in them now, hopefully. Oh, I've got some hearts that have little tears in them. There's another metaphor, right? I could even like tear some in half and sort of put them back together again. That might be a good kind of visual as well. That was so that I didn't lose track of time, I set myself a timer for an hour and a half for the jam. So that's my heads up that I'm now in overtime, but I'm going to be here for a few more minutes. But if you have to leave, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back in a fortnight. So what is it? It's the 10th, so that'll be the 24th. And I think I picked the theme. So next, yeah, I have picked the theme and I actually remember what it is. Well, I don't remember what it is, but it's whatever the Februalage prompt is for the February 24th. So that's what we'll be doing. I wanted to do one that was Valentine's Day related, close to Valentine's Day. So that's why we're waiting until 2 weeks from now to do a Februalage prompt. But Val, you'll be happy to know that in 2 weeks we'll be working on it. You'll be done by then, right? You'll be way ahead. So. All right, so I've cut out a bunch of hearts that from these 3 pieces of paper. So I've got red hearts, pink hearts, and then sort of gel plate print hearts, like those, like that one there. It's hard to see on the green, like that one. So that's a little stash of those, and the next thing will be to do is to cut some out of these 3, and then I'll have a stash of hearts to play with on these. And so one thought I've had is that I might just throw them down and see where they land. And that might actually be interesting. I mean, now it might be hard to actually get them glued down, but some of them, like for instance, if I threw these down, right, this one can land either way and be a pink heart, same with the red because it's red paper. But this one might land the other way and be a white heart instead. So, and I think the same thing here, right? Like this would be purple regardless. Oh, this might be one of those colors and this would be white. So I'll see whether that's how I go about it, but I should probably wrap up. So I'm going to switch the camera over and get it somewhat lined up there and read your last few comments. Switch from my collaging glasses to my computer glasses. All right, so yeah, looks like lots of comments I missed. So let's see what you guys are saying. So Nellie says she worked on a red Chinese piece, Franco-Chinese. That's awesome. Very cool. Nellie says, thank you, Annie, for the congratulations. Nellie says, happy Valentine's Day to you and all of you. Love yourselves too. Absolutely. All love, hey, it starts with self-love, right? So, yeah. Thank you, Rebecca. Diane says, that is exactly what I was wondering. I like to experiment in baking and I have a fancy new stove now. Awesome, Diane. That's so fun. We've been in a period of time when we just need to replace a whole bunch of things, and the stove is the last one. So that might be us too soon, once we get over the financial impact of the dryer and we have extra time, once we don't have to like monitor our forever drying. Nellie says, I do collect heart-shaped stones from the lake. Right. Had a number of them. I doctored some of them. Yeah, a little. Yeah, so it's like, oh, this just needs a little chip over out of it here, or a little, yeah. And some people also will decorate them with paint or drawing, which can be lovely too. So Nellie says some glass too. Yeah, some of the glass, I mean, it's unfortunate that we have chunks of glass in our environment, but some of the beach glass is just so beautiful. The stuff that's been rounded and frosted, it's yeah, so trust nature to take something that shouldn't be there and turn it into something beautiful, right? So Philippa says, I have a beautiful egg-shaped piece of bluish glass I found years ago on the beach when I lived on Queen Street. Yeah, exactly. Diane says, I collect driftwood and varnish it and then nail it to the backyard fence to break up the boring fence line. I love that. Right? So, yeah, because yeah, cut lumber, it's easy to work with. But it's boring as all heck, right? So that's awesome. Philip says, I was told that it was probably from an old Coke factory. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Philip says, thank you so much, Kat, and everyone. Have a great Valentine's Day, whatever you're doing. Likewise to you, Philippa. Thanks for joining us. Nellie says, thank you, Kat. Always a pleasure. Always lovely to have you, Nellie. That's awesome. Diane says, thank you, Kat, giving me tons of ideas to create with my granddaughter on Friday. Awesome. So many of you guys have like grandchildren, and having a creative grandma, you're giving them such a gift, like to spend time making with their grandma. That's awesome. Lisa says, thank you, Cal. See you Friday, maybe. Yep, exactly. So look on Kim's social media and on her website about her Valentine's Day stream. I really hope I can at least be there for some of it. So unless the timing really doesn't align well, I should be able to. Annie says, thanks, Kat. Happy Valentine's Day, and to you, and Jerry as well. And everyone here in the group. Awesome. Val says, thank you. See you next time. See you next time, Val. Irina says, thank you for everyone for the afternoon for us. Yeah, it's evening for you. And enjoy your first Valentine's Day with your new love, Irina. That's awesome. Nellie says, I had to give away a masterpiece of driftwood. Oh, that's, yeah. I hope you took a picture at least first, Nellie. That's the way that Kim and I have, when we have to part with some piece of thing that we wish we didn't have to. We take photographs of it to remember it by. Anne says, thanks for the Valentine's Day take on collage making. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Anne. That's awesome. All right, guys. So we'll see you on the 24th for whatever the Februage prompt is. And I post whatever you do in our Collage Jam group. I haven't visited it in a while because I've been swamped, but I'm going to go check it out in the next few days. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Take care.